Hello, Seiiti Arata. In a little while I'm going to tell you about a film that reminds us of how important it is to stop buying rubbish that we don't need. Can you guess the name of the film? Pause the video and write the film title in the comment section. This film reveals a trap that can be making you a prisoner. That trap prevents you from conquering your financial independence. That is a trap that leaves you feeling insecure in moments of crisis. It is a trap that makes you a slave of mediocre jobs, abusive bosses, and even an unhappy life. The trap is you increasing your expenses and your living standards as you progress in your career and you make more money. And sadly, that is a behavior that almost all of us present whenever we earn a little bit of extra money. But there is a simple way of stepping out of this trap. That way out frees you from the suffering of having to live from wage to wage, frees you from working just to pay the bills, and gives you security to take over your financial life. We're now going to get acquainted with part of a movement that has gained popularity around the world, and the movement is known as FIRE, Financial Independence. Retire early. And the central idea of this movement is to learn how to live below your means. Living under your means frees you from compulsory work and puts you in the way of financial independence. When we're finishing college and starting out our professional life, our lifestyle was usually very simple. We use public transport, we eat at cheap restaurants, and we manage to only buy the essential. However, then we make progress in our careers, and then we receive a pay raise, we get a new job, and we start adjusting our life standards to the evolution of that income. And when that happens, we end up stuck in the trap of never having extra money. The one who was once a new graduate, was used to spend 90% of their income in bus tickets and food and the rent for a small apartment, now would be the head of a big company spending 90% of his income in luxurious cars, expensive restaurants, and a 30-year mortgage on a very expensive and big house. A lot of people find that natural. After all, we work to improve our living standards, right? Now the problem is that if you're always spending everything you earn, you will never achieve financial independence, and you're gonna always be a prisoner of your own work. Working just to pay the bills is a prison in disguise. Use your work to buy assets instead of material goods. Why do so many people subject themselves to a job that they don't like? Why do so many people accept to spend time with abusive bosses and exploiting companies and nasty co-workers? Why do so many people give up their best years of their lives to be trapped in an office and then only retire when they no longer have as much health and energy to enjoy their lives? The answer is quite simple, we all know it. So that we can pay our bills. We all need money for food and health and housing. That is quite obvious. That is unquestionable. Nevertheless, which is not so obvious and is worth a dispute, is the following. What kind of bills are worth paying? What can be considered some rubbish that you can stop buying? Could it be that the choices that you make today really belong to your financial reality? Is it worth to subject yourself to certain jobs so you can pay unnecessary bills? See, there is nothing wrong about wanting to eat better, having access to higher quality services, or living in a comfortable house. You only have to ponder the pros and cons of the cost of all these things bringing into your life. The thing that gets even worse when we start spending money on things that we don't need. Brand clothing, last generation phones, luxurious cars. And that drains our finances and sets us for the trap of having to always work to pay it all. To look for happiness by buying material goods put us in a vicious cycle. The goods you bought don't make you happy. They get even you sadder for having depleted your financial reserves. The time has come now for me to tell you what the film is, or the book, in case you read it. Advertising has us chasing cars and clothes, working jobs we hate, so we buy stuff we don't need. This quote from Fight Club, which became very well known, summarizes very well the trap of adjusting our living standards to our income. We try to buy our happiness by acquiring material goods, but those material goods never bring to us the lasting happiness that we expect them to. And buying expensive objects wastes our financial reserves, leaving us exposed to the dangers of unemployment or an economic crisis. Consumerism ends up locking us in a vicious cycle. We exchange great part of our lifetime working and making personal sacrifices for distractions, for rubbish that isn't worth all the effort that we make. That lifestyle that involves expensive trips and fashionable clothing and luxurious cars and giant houses is not a need you have. It is largely a need made up by companies, by advertising that want you to be consuming more and more. The solution to free yourself from those fake needs is to make conscious choices by living below your means. Living below your means doesn't mean to content yourself with poverty, but to buy only what really matters. Living under your means doesn't mean contenting yourself with a mediocre life full of poverty or sacrifices. That is not what the FIRE movement supports for you to be achieving your economic freedom. You have to reflect on the following. If you were able to have an acceptable living standard when you're used to earning X, why not maintain that living standard now that you're earning 2x? Instead of spending that extra money on clothing and gadgets and other rubbish, why don't you just buy your own freedom? Instead of buying things that take money out of your pocket, why don't you start buying assets? Things that put money in your pocket. Living below your means is exactly the opposite of contenting yourself with little. It is thinking big. It is looking for the greater objective, which is having financial security to make whatever you want, whatever you wish for your life. You can stop working out of obligation within 5 years if you manage to live below your means. A lot of people believe financial independence to be something impossible to achieve, but that freedom is only impossible for those who don't invest in their future. Financial independence happens when you save such an amount of money that, when it is well invested, it generates a passive income that allows you to live from the returns of your investments without having to work anymore. A large proportion of people who achieve financial independence continue working, but those financially free people only work for what they really like. They end up working much better, because they're usually doing something useful, something meaningful, something that has a great personal relevance. And by working better, they can manage to earn even more money. I'm going to give you an extreme example for you to understand. No matter how much you earn today, you could retire in only 5 years if you manage to live way below your means. Applying the Pareto principle, if you manage to live on 20% of your income, if you saved all the rest within 5 years, you wouldn't be required to work. And from there on, you could work only on what you like. You wouldn't fear unemployment or economic crisis. You wouldn't need to depend on your job to be paying your bills. You could take a gap year and never think about money again or working for money if you didn't have to. And from there on, you could only work on what you really like. You wouldn't fear unemployment or economic crisis. You wouldn't depend on your job to be paying your bills. You could take a gap year or never again work for money if you didn't want to. Now, how is that possible? Let's say you're making $1,000 and you can live on just $200 per month. You invest the extra $800 and get a very modest net income, just let's say 0.5% per month. Within 5 years, that money you saved already covers the $200 that you need for living, no matter how much you earn. If you manage to live on just 20% of your income, you get to retire within 5 years. And that is just an example. Please don't focus on the numbers of this example, but on the proportion. In the FIRE movement, for example, the average is to live within half of your income, which will take you to financial independence in 20 years, more or less. Living below your means is not diminishing your living standard. The secret is to increase your income and keep your current living standard. Now, I'm quite sure that today you can't live on just 20 or even 50% of your income. Even if you reduce your expenses to the essential, even then, for most people, that is an unreachable objective. The solution, therefore, is not that you reduce a lot your living standards. You don't need to give up coffee or stop going to the cinema or spend 10 years using the same clothes. You just need to let go of the unnecessary expenses and rethink your consumption habits. Instead of trying to live on uncomfortable living standards, you must focus on increasing your income. Let's say that today your essential spending needs consume almost all of your income. The more you increase your income, the less those expenses will have a relative impact on your budget. If you earned 5 times more than what you earn today, your expenses would constitute only 20%. All you need to do is to maintain your living standards while you are increasing your income. And that extra money you will be receiving must be used not to be buying a new cell phone, but to buy your own freedom. Even if you don't achieve financial freedom in the next 5 years, the most important thing is that you understand the principle. The deadline can be in 6 or 9 or 10 or 20 years. The more you manage to increase your income without raising your living standards, the fastest we'll have the security of being able to stop working out of obligation. And even if you don't achieve a complete financial independence that allows you to retire early, you surely will have a financial reserve to be dealing with situations of unemployment, economic crisis, or any other unexpected event that might appear in your life. This is the typical win-win scenario. You get rid of consumerism, you start valuing what is really important in life, and on top of that, you gain a security that allows you to face any difficulty that might come. Now, you can be thinking that all of this kind of makes sense, but it is impossible for you to be increasing your income. Your job is not so well paid, or the market is in crisis, or you are not just good enough. All these thoughts are the result of a mindset that you can change. You can gain knowledge, you can learn new abilities, you can start to think and act like a rich person. These are all taboos that you can break. If you are interested in taking control of your financial future, I invite you to watch a special class on the Truly Wealthy course about financial taboos by accessing arata.se/trulywealthy.